Good morning, class. Welcome back. I hope that you had a great weekend. Thank you for turning in your assignments via Jupyter. In today's class, we are going to do two different things. One is we're going to take a short quiz after the lecture, but the other one is that we are going to finally start getting into the digital side of marketing. So we've been going a lot over marketing principles, which are things that don't change. And now we're going to finally start talking about what happened to marketing in the digital age. Namely, things that happened in the early 90s all the way to the mid 2000s. We're going to talk about what happened to the marketing landscape to make it the multi-billion-dollar industry that it is today. So in order to do so, we're going to travel back in time, and I'm going to discuss some things just in a very general sense. Namely, I'm going to be talking about, number one, the rise of the personal computers in people's houses. Number two, the very first call to action on a website. Number three, file sharing. Number four, search engine optimization. And number five, the rise of social media. So some of these things might already make sense to you. Some of these things might be completely new, but this is going to be just a general overview of all of these topics. So let's get started. Now imagine a world where there is no TikTok or Instagram or YouTube. I know it's hard to imagine because it's been a part of your life for all of your life, but believe it or not, there was a time where people were not constantly connected to one another digitally. We were not connected online via the internet or with cell phones. Digital marketing did not exist. Companies would market using things like print in magazines, in newspapers, on billboards, and they would also have television commercials or product placements in movies. It wasn't until the 90s that this started to change, and the internet opened up a whole new world of opportunities for companies to begin to connect with people in a way that had never been possible before. So today we're going to explore how all of this began, how digital marketing went from kind of a weird experiment to a multi-billion-dollar industry, which it is today. Let's talk about the rise of the personal computer. So picture this. It's the early 90s, and most people don't have computers in their homes. In fact, unless you work in an office or spend a lot of time in a library or perhaps worked for the government, you really didn't have a use for a computer at all. The internet existed, but it wasn't really something that people used in their daily lives. But in the early 90s, something changed. Both Microsoft and Apple were racing to create a computer that would be easy for regular people to use. And in 1995, Microsoft launched Windows 95, which was a huge game changer. It made computers user-friendly. People no longer had to punch in codes, they could simply click on little icons. As Microsoft and Apple battled it out, the computers became more and more affordable, and more people started to buy them for their homes. So more and more people had access to the internet. But here's the thing, the internet back then was nothing like the internet today. There was information on it, there were websites, but they were very, very basic because companies didn't really know what to do with this. And so most of the websites were like brochures or like business cards, very simple graphics and just a little bit of text to let you know who they are. They were still trying to figure out how to use the internet to market their products to you. Now let's talk about the first banner ad with a call to action. A call to action is when an advertiser tells you to do something. Now, we're in the mid-90s, and companies are still experimenting with their websites, but they haven't figured out exactly how to reach customers. It wasn't until AT&T put an advertisement on a website called Hotwired, which was an online magazine, that things really began to change. Their advertisement was a small banner that said, "Have you ever clicked your mouse right here?" And this prompted people to click their mouse where the little arrow was pointing. Now, here's what was revolutionary about it. It was the first time that an advertisement had a call to action that consumers can act on immediately. In fact, this little banner ad got a 44% click-through rate, which is insane compared to the ads that we see today. That means that almost 1 out of every 2 people clicked on that advertisement. The reason this is so important is because that ad set the tone for how companies engage with people online by simply asking them to do something. And that's still how a lot of digital marketing works today. Now let's talk about file sharing. Let's jump to the late 90s. Something very interesting happened, especially in the world of music. A program called Napster came along, and it changed the way people got their music. Napster was like the Wild West of the internet, and here's why. It allowed people to download and share music for free, which sounds cool, right? But there's one problem. It was completely illegal to do that. Before Napster, people had to go to the store and buy CDs to listen to their favorite music. But now they could just download the songs without paying for them. So Napster blew up almost overnight. Everyone was using it to share music, and very few people were actually willing to pay for their favorite songs. You could see this is a big problem for the record labels. They began to lose a ton of money, and so did artists. For teens, it was like magic. You could suddenly have access to any song that you wanted for free. Now, while this did cause major problems for the music industry, it also showed companies that digital platforms could be used to completely change how people get content. This was a huge wake-up call to brands. And they knew that if they didn't figure this out, if they didn't adapt to this new digital world, they would be left behind. Napster didn't last very long, but it paved the way for legal streaming platforms like Apple Music and now Spotify. And these platforms learned from Napster's success on how to use digital marketing to get users to subscribe and stay on their platforms. And now just a quick overview on SEO. It's the early 2000s, and by this time, the internet was growing fast, and people wanted a better way to find things online. That's where search engines came in, and many existed, but there was one that took over the entire industry. And if you guessed that it was Google, you are correct. Google launched in 1998 and quickly became the king of search engines because it gave a better, more accurate result than its competitors. And people loved it because it actually helped them find what they were looking for. But here's where digital marketing comes in. Businesses realized that if they wanted to get noticed, they needed to show up at the top of Google search results. And this led to something called search engine optimization, or SEO. SEO is basically the process of making sure your website ranks higher than most. For example, if you searched best shoes for running, well, companies like Nike, they want their shoes to show up at the top of the results. The higher they rank, the more people will click on to see their website, and that means more potential customers. SEO has become a crucial part of digital marketing because everybody wants to be at the top. And even today, SEO is still one of the most important strategies for businesses that want to succeed online. Now let's talk about the rise of social media. In the mid-2000s, social media really started to take off. The first big platform was called MySpace, which launched in 2003. MySpace was a place where you could create a profile, share music, and connect with your friends. Now, for teens back then, MySpace was a huge deal. It was the first time that you could really express yourself online, and it had a massive impact on music and on pop culture. Now, in 2004, Facebook came along. At first, it was just for college students, but soon it opened up to everyone. Facebook completely changed everything in advertisement because it introduced something that was a marketer's dream. It introduced targeted advertising. Now, with targeted ads, companies could show their ads to specific people based on things like age, interest, and location. It wasn't just random anymore. Brands could reach exactly the people who would be the most interested in their products. For example, if you were really into skateboarding, you might see an ad for skate shoes or a new board. Now, this kind of advertising was super powerful because it meant that companies could spend less money advertising to people who wouldn't care about their products, and they could focus on the people who would. Today, platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube use targeted ads to connect brands with the exact people who are most likely to buy from them. Social media is now one of the biggest places for companies to market their products. So from this point forward, we are going to learn about some of the tools and platforms used for digital marketing. But for now, the things to keep in mind are targeted ads, calls to action, and search engine optimization. Just make sure that those three things are in your notes. So in conclusion, we talked about the rise of the personal computer in people's homes. We talked about the first banner ad with a call to action. We talked about Napster and file sharing. We also discussed search engine optimization and the rise of social media. And now it's quiz time. So for the quiz, we have 10 questions. Some of them are multiple choice and some of them are going to be short answers. So just go ahead and do your best. Obviously, if you need a little more time, just pause the video and then continue on. I'll see you guys again on Thursday. Question number 1, multiple choice. Which of the following colors is often associated with trust and professionalism in marketing? Is it A, red, B, yellow, C, blue, or D, green? Question number 2, short paragraph. Explain how Apple used emotion in the introduction of the iPod to make it appealing to customers. Question 3, multiple choice. Which of the following is not one of the 4 P's of marketing? A, product, B, place, C, promotion, or D, personalization? Question number 4, short paragraph. How did Nike's Just Do It slogan change the way people viewed fitness and sports? Question number 5, multiple choice. Which of the following campaigns encourage customers to personalize products by using their own names? A, Pepsi's Choice of a New Generation. B, Apple's Think Different. C, Coca-Cola's Share a Coke. Or D, Adidas' impossible is nothing. Question number 6, short paragraph. How do customer surveys help companies better understand their target audience? Question number 7, multiple choice. Which company's campaign was inspired by a quote from a boxer? A. Adidas, impossible is nothing. B. Nike, just do it. C. Pepsi, choice of a new generation. Or D. Apple, think different. Question number 8, another short paragraph. Describe the importance of emotion in creating effective marketing campaigns. Use an example from one of the campaigns we've discussed in class. Question number 9. Which company used the tagline, choice of a new generation, in the 1980s to appeal to younger consumers? A. Nike, B. Pepsi, C. Coca-Cola, or D. Adidas? And finally, one last question, a short paragraph. What role do colors play in influencing customers' decisions? Give an example of how a company uses color in its branding.